Michael, thanks for jumping on, man.
Yeah, man, excited to chat with you, brother.
All right, let's do this. So, we were talking about this before, but really, like, the goal for this is just to get to know you and hear about your story in working through the coaching process. And my goal is that anybody who's watching or listening to this can connect with that and find something that can hopefully help them on their journey. So, just to kind of kick this off, tell us a little bit about who you are, and what you were kind of like looking for when you first started the coaching process.
Yeah, definitely, man. Michael Fullen. I guess when people ask me like, tell me about yourself, like the first thing I think about is like, you say how you talk about your career and your job, but like the first thing I think about is like, I'm a dad, and like
Yes.
that's like the most fulfilling thing for me. Like the best job I have is like I got two great kids, 7 and 5. They're just fun ages. Being a dad is like the best job you can have, the hardest thing that you can do, but the best and most rewarding thing. So I got an
Completely
amazing
agree.
family, an awesome, supportive wife, and interest. I'm always trying to seek challenges, trying to do hard things, whether it's you know uh, an endurance fitness event, just trying to challenge myself, and career wise, professionally. Um, I'm a executive with a family business. My wife's family business. I actually spent some time, right after school working in the big Fortune 5, a couple of big Fortune 500 companies, and span in different industries. Multiple disciplines in sales and marketing, and got my MBA in business analytics. And I would say that I'm a generalist at heart, and I think that moving from big corporations to a family business, worked for the last 10 years, really helped kind of transition, from a longstanding, 60-year-old company with a great foundation, kind of a mom and pop operation, to the last 10 years, helping, define the business and brand strategy and development, to kind of helping with that succession into a new fourth generation. So I've been part of, that success in the family business as an executive, but most recently started, my own real estate company, 3 years ago, which has been just a exciting endeavor, and putting the entrepreneur hat on, and being a real estate operating company, and a developer, and taking on big, hairy, audacious projects. It's been a fun experience, and I would say going from big company to smaller mid-sized company, being a small part of a big thing, to a bigger part of a developing thing, to being on my own, and not being on my own, but really helping create the vision for something new, and that is what I found has really excited me. So that's a little bit about me and my career. And I would say what got me into, I guess, coaching. It's kind of a funny story. I think that I've always had a desire to learn and want to improve. I'm hungry. I'm really ambitious guy, and I'd always heard about people that I viewed as very successful, high achievers, and you're thinking that, oh God, this guy doesn't need a coach. Like, he is the coach.
Yes.
And hearing about, oh God, the more I learn about top performers, like, they got coaches, and they have coaches in multiple aspects of their life. And I'm like, shit, like I need a coach. I'm always trying to get an edge. And I think that I started to explore this. And I actually had a coach for fitness coach, for last year. I did the Leadville 100 mountain bike race,
Let's
and I
go.
got I got a coach for that, and I was like, man, it was really helpful for me to just structure routine. Um, it had a good event and had good results from that coaching. And I kind of went into the next year with not having that major event to train for. And I was like, God dang it. Like, I need a coach for my fitness endeavors, because I felt like I was just waking up and just doing random workouts. And so I think that was my initial kind of draw to how we met, because I'd expressed this to my wife, and she's a dialed in. She's got her morning routine, her workouts all planned, and I'm just kind of floundering with what I feel like doing for any given day. And so she, one day out of the blue, had sent me your website. I think I probably expressed maybe some frustrations of like, I need to get out of this rut and get like a coach to help me
Mm.
design some programming. And she sent me a link to your website, and just I thought it had to do with like, hey, this guy could maybe be your, programming fitness coach, because you'd have the Ironman background and done a lot of different endurance events. And when I looked at your website, I was like, oh man, this guy. First of all, like he feels like my type of guy.
Yep.
And there's a lot of like similarities. And I think that, doing events like a Leadville or any endurance event, I think the message around like mindset, it's not about like the pursuit of the physical achievement of the athletic event, but it's more about like who you become, that
Yes.
the skills that you develop, and resilience, and training and routine and doing a hard and challenging thing that is transferable to all areas of your life. So I love that message and the connection between like mindset and like fitness. And I was like, oh man, that's like, maybe I could like get a double whammy here. And I think I didn't really have expectations, but I was in one of those days where I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna reach out to this guy. And come to find out that why she sent me your link was because our director of organizational behavior was looking for speakers for an event, met you randomly at an airport, and Jordan found out about it and sent me the link. And it was kind of after I had reached out that I found all this out. And it was just kind of funny. I'd like to say that the universe put us together, and it's been
Really was.
it's been a fun ride. I've really just enjoyed the process. I had my hesitations kind of going into it. More so like I'm an avid kind of learner. I'm in the self-development space, so I was more of like, didn't want to add something else to my plate,
Yeah.
and feeling like, oh gosh, the last thing I need is like someone. I didn't feel like I needed like an accountability coach.
Mm.
I don't know. I think maybe some people come in with, I'm struggling with this and I need help with this. And so you kind of define the outcome that you want. And I would say I was just curious. I really
Yeah.
went into open mind, and, just have a drive and determination to just try to be better, whatever that may be. And so I kind of, came into it with a little bit of curiosity. Um,
Mm. That's when you're at
and
your best too.
yeah, in a little open mind, open mind, like what I can get out of this. And I think that was helpful for me. I found out that like maybe what I went into it with the expectations of was, maybe a little bit different than what I felt like, got out of it, which was just great. And I think being able to keep that open mind, and being open to the experience um, was helpful for me for sure.
Awesome. And I think there were just like so many things that you touched on at the beginning that in our first conversation, I just felt like this is my kind of guy. This is the type
Sure.
of client I want to work with. This is the type of person I want to surround myself with because you're a very committed dad. Like that's the first thing that you mentioned, but you're also highly motivated, highly driven as a business owner. And I think also in the early stages of the real estate business, it's almost like you're pushing towards this goal, and a lot of times that can feel like isolating.
Yeah.
And so just like having that support can really help. And so you kind of touched on it, like coming in with curiosity, but start to describe as you're wearing all of those hats at the very beginning, what were some of the things that you were maybe either struggling with or looking for guidance on or curious about things that you could maybe you would want to level up on.
Yeah. I mean, I think overall, like maybe the thing with a lot of high performers, people that have high aspirations and high achievers, is that I want to live with like zero left in the tank. There's just always this feeling of wanting to achieve more and do more, and always feeling like at the end of the day, I'm just like not fulfilling my potential. And so I
Mm,
think that was kind of the overarching theme, is like, how do I just maximize in all areas of my life to live a fulfilling life? If I had to really kind of be very broad about it,
yeah,
that's how I would kind of describe maybe like what I was trying to get out of the overall coaching experience. I think that part of it is too, is like I was doing new things. It was like challenging myself in ways I hadn't done before. I think actually
Yeah.
going in, it was probably like the timing, and this is like the universe is putting us together, was the timing of it was critical, because I was like going into that, I think that second, third quarter, like there was a lot that was, that would be coming my way, that if I wouldn't have had a coach during it, like I would just, I mean, it was a struggling last, 6 months, but I think having the support of a coach was just so helpful for me to be able to get through and learn throughout this last 6 months. And I'm just very appreciative of the work we've done together. As far as um, things that have helped me,
Yeah,
um,
I was gonna ask,
yeah,
like,
and
what has been like the most helpful things, like through the process of, just working together, kind of as that partnership.
yeah, I think part is like I said, I didn't really have anything specific like I wanted to work on. It was kind of like go an open book, assess me, have a conversation, and then, hey, what are techniques and, different, habits, rituals, things you could do, and tools in your tool belt, I would say, to kind of help me, through a given scenario. And I think that there's been plenty of that. I mean, we're both in the self-development world, so there's a lot of, techniques that I've done. But I would say it's probably some of the mindset shifts that I've had that have been like, we've noticed, they were like, that's like a breakthrough moment. That's like an aha moment for me. And I can think of
Describe those.
I probably like three. The first one is like my, I operate from a very a place of having an internal locus of control, right? So I believe I can
Yes.
change. I can do anything, right? Like if I just gotta commit to it, put the time and the energy and the intention into achieving that, and I feel like I can control my outcomes. And that's a very, very good thing, right? Like people that operate in the internal locus control, that feel like that they can impact their results in their life, that's a really good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But too much of the extreme on that, I think, can be hurtful. And I realized that, of like, I love to be in the driver's seat. I love to be in
Yes.
control. And so I try to control every aspect of any scenario to try to, like, how do I minimize the odds of of a failure? Um, and you use this kind of crutch of perfectionism, like it's a badge of
Yeah.
honor. And you're like, oh, I'm a perfectionist. And, really, like, that's kind of bullshit, because you're really just scared. Like, so you use perfection as a way to, like, I'm going to just perfect this thing and do more than necessary so that I can delay taking the action that I maybe need to. And I would always eventually get there, but what I found is that first of all, you can't control everything.
Yep.
So there's things that are outside of your control, even though you try to control all possible things that are, in your control. But also, for me, I'd always, because I was afraid to do something, I would just grind. I would work harder. I'd prepare more. And so there's a lot of success that I would, get, because I was always very prepared. But
Mm-hmm.
I would also spend more time on things than I should have. And
Mm.
I would anticipate things that, actually didn't happen. I'd prepare for every little, nuance that could occur. And then it didn't occur. And I'm like, well, gosh, I could have moved a lot quicker. And so I think this idea of, like, being a little bit imperfect sometimes, figuring out when you need to focus on quality and when you can say, like, hey, good enough is good enough.
Shipping.
And
Yeah.
I think that was I feel like a key mindset shift for me. I think the other thing that was helpful for me was around building confidence. Um, I think especially where I'm at today, and I think that any entrepreneur, high achiever can relate, is that you're doing things that you've never done before, and you're scared, and you're like, God, you're putting yourself out there. It's really, really, really hard. And I think confidence comes from me. And I think about, working with others. If I'm confident in working with a new partner or a new vendor, what am I looking at? I'm looking at confidence, and, like, have they done the thing that I'm asking them to do and shown a proven track record of success, right? And that, to me, confidence and mastery helps build confidence. So that's one. I think two is habits, like what you do consistently. It also builds confidence. So if I want to be a healthy person, I do the things that healthy people do,
Yep.
right? But when you're starting something, you can do all the habits, but still I was struggling with this, like, I've never done this.
Yeah.
And I'm scared. I'm trying to learn as much as possible. And there's this idea of like learning before you start, but then, or starting to learn.
Yes.
And there's a little bit of both to try to like, learn from somebody else's mistakes before you can do it. But sometimes like what I found in this last 6 months is that unless I took the action, like I didn't learn.
Yes.
And I've really tried to figure out how do I build confidence in myself, but also in others' belief in me when I've never done this thing. And I got to inspire confidence to be able to work with me on a given project. And so I've really struggled with that. And I think the one thing that we've worked on that's been like, you know, huge for me is that confidence comes from just ability to figure things out. And I think
Yes.
that at the heart, we're problem solvers, man. And like at the end of the day, I know that I can figure shit out. And if I don't have the answers, like I'm not gonna have the answers. Don't let that keep me from, taking the action that I need to. So I've really like leaned into that and said like it's a superpower to not have all the answers and not spend the energy trying to come up with all the answers, but really just go into it and say, you know what, like I'm gonna figure it out because that's what I do.
Yes.
And
And I think I want to say one thing there because that's
yeah,
like almost like the underlying belief. Like confidence comes from like I can figure this out. Whatever comes my way, I'm going to figure it out. That's
yeah,
the underlying belief that gets you over that bridge from like where you are to the action that you need to take so that it's easier to take action. And then once you take it, then you get the evidence that you can do it. And it's almost like this reinforcing loop, right? And I think that's kind of what you experienced is that underlying belief and adopting that helped you take the action, which gave you the evidence, which gave you more confidence as you were, building out
100%,
the real estate company. So
100%. And even like I would say, like using experiences like your like past experiences give you a sense of confidence. It's like doesn't always have to be totally related to that, technical aspect of like whatever you're in
yeah,
that area of focus you're trying to achieve. But like a funny thing that that I do is that like I'm trying to build confidence if I need like it's a presentation or it's like it's a big speaking engagement event is like I use my Leadville
Leadville.
100 experience. Is like that was a challenging thing and I did it. And so
Yes.
if you finish under 12 hours, you get this awesome belt buckle and it's like this badge of honor. And so on days where like I'm like I need a little boost today, I'll throw on the belt buckle and it's just a reminder. It's as silly as it may sound, it gives me
It
like a
works.
little bit of oomph to know that hey, I need a little boost of confidence because when you walk in a room and you have confidence, man, it shows. And
Oh,
just trying to get that
100%.
mojo going. So
Yeah, I'm a big believer in the physical reminders of things that you've done. That's why I have stuff all around my room. Like that's why I have these on my wrist is they're reminders of confidence, they're reminders of resilience, they're reminders of like my purpose,
power
of
pose.
the power pose too. Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned there was like another shift. So
Yeah. I would say
what was the other
yeah.
one?
I would say that this is probably like recently I just you learn things about yourself I think through the coaching experience and um what I learned about myself is that I think that anyone that's doing things that are hard and challenging and you're leading kind of from the front is that um you need support and
Mm.
you at the end of the day is looking for like hey Mario's got some magic little technique that's going to just revolutionize. And we've talked about like so a lot of things that we, do in the behaviors and habits and rituals. Like they're the same across time and across different experiences. But like what I really needed was just someone in my corner. And like that was probably the biggest realization of like the whole coaching experience is that I was doing some things and I had some really struggles and things that didn't go my way.
Yeah.
And as people that are doing things that are hard and challenging and you feel isolated and you feel alone, you need someone just saying like, dude, you're doing a good job.
Yes.
And I get emotional when I think about that because we had the moment where I was just like, I hate to like, it's almost like I was embarrassed and to admit that like I needed affirmation. I need some confirmation because as high achievers, we're our own biggest critics.
Mm,
And no one's gonna put, expectations on me that are higher than myself. And
exactly.
so I'm always in my head, my self-talk thinking like, you're not good enough. And so if you're constantly battling that yourself,
By
you
yourself.
need someone just saying like, dude, you got it. You're like, I hated kind of admitting that like I needed affirmation. But, like my love language is affirmation. Like I
Yeah.
just needed someone like, we live in I think that our generation is like participation trophies and like, positive reinforcement. But like, God dang it, like it helps. And there's a reason why, people need it, especially if you're an entrepreneur, is just having someone in your corner to say, dude, you got this. And I don't know how many times like throughout the week I was like, your text messages or your emails like hit me at the right time. I was in a lull. It's a
Mm,
roller coaster every single week.
yeah.
And there's a moments where I'm like, dude, I needed that. And that was just it gave me kind of the confidence and boost I needed to make the next step. So
I'm so glad that you mentioned that because it's been one of the biggest things that I've learned this past year in my own entrepreneurial journey. When I have been in my lowest moments, it's when I have felt the most isolated. And that is the hardest thing when you're in a low and you're isolated. It feels like it's going to stay like that forever. And
100%.
that's why I've hired coaches and that's why I felt so like connected to you and I understood the lows because I've gone through them too. And so like for anybody that's listening to this, if you're in a low and you're by yourself, you're making it way harder on yourself. And that's why you
Yeah.
need to like find a like-minded entrepreneur, find a community, find a coach. And that's a huge takeaway. So thank you for
Well,
sharing that, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
you almost feel like it's a little bit of a weakness. Like I was afraid to even admit that like I
Oh
needed that.
yeah.
And like that's why, I find it hard to have just a network of people that are like have the same kind of drive and ambition, that I do. And I think it's motivating to be able to not just like you as a coach, but I think just the experience together. Like I benefit from like you going through the same things and having the same shared experiences and being able to like lean on each other. Like that's huge for me. And having that network and support system has been something that I've realized where in the past I just try to like go in a room, like isolate myself and just try to like
Grit through it.
grind through it. And some days I just, it's great to have an ally that you can say, hey man, I'm feeling this way. I'm pissed. I'm
Mm,
resentful. Or sharing the good moments, right?
yeah.
So it's
Oh,
all good,
that's so
man.
good. So start to describe to me, like looking back on it, what are the either the results you're the most proud of or just your own transformation? Like kind of describe that to me.
Um, I think if I had to describe just, a result, impact is just in one word to be resilience. Like I've just become way more resilient. I had a couple things that like didn't go my way. And I had a couple of like moments that just things were just not, God, I just was like wishing that things would like be a little bit easier. Like things would kind of, cards would, stack in my favor and didn't have, I think early on I had something that, didn't go my way with a project that I was working on. And then, I had kind of a grind of a quarter where I was doing a real estate project and needing, kind of doing all this work and spending all the energy and time. And then, but also like knowing that, you don't know if you're going to be able to kind of achieve the result at the end. You're kind of doing the work to make it to the next stage. And so I was seeking some funding sources through some state tax credits on a real estate project. And so the application you put forth to get these tax credits and put a lot of energy into that process. And then kind of banking on this to kind of lead the next effort to keep things moving forward and didn't get it. And I remember like I was, because it was a grind. I made a lot of sacrifices. I think the second quarter was like a grind like I've had in no other period of my life, and just a constant trying to build myself up, and just knowing that, like, oh God, this is going to pay off, working on weekends, and then it didn't. And
Yeah.
feeling like, God, I'm pissed. And I would say, yes, it impacted me. It was, emotional, upset for one day. Next day, I reset. I said, I'm going to figure this out, and I moved
Yes.
forward. And I had to reflect back on that. I'm like, dude, that wouldn't have happened 6 months ago. I would have
Like,
lulled on this. I would have
how
let this
long do you think you would
disappointment
have
for
lulled on it?
dude, I probably would have
Weeks?
I don't know, a couple weeks, and it would have crept up on me all, consistently for a long time. It would discourage me. It would have set me back. I would have had to build myself back up again. And it was just the quicker I could make that shift, the better. And I just think that those setbacks are going to happen. That's life.
Guaranteed,
So
especially
I
in
think,
entrepreneurship.
yeah. And so I think being able to handle that resilience is just you never like to think about, and people say, oh, you're going to look at this and you're going to learn from it. And you're just in the moment, you're like, screw that. Nah, this sucks. But, it truly is, something that's been good. And I would tell you, I didn't get the result I wanted to. You learn so much. And I think that gosh, yeah, now looking back on it, you're like, I guess I'm glad that happened, because it made me more resilient. And I think that those things are cliche to say, but so hard to
It's
really
true though. It's true though,
let it simmer.
because the more resilient, the more adversity you have, the more resilient you become. The more resilient you become, the more likely it is that you will succeed long term.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, for sure.
the game that we're playing is a long-term game, like an infinite game. And
Yeah.
we've got to think in decades instead of days. And um I'm I'm I was just like, I could just totally recognize like the shifts that you're talking about. And I remember there was a certain time when you were like, when things started going wrong, you almost like started laughing. And like there was like
Yeah.
the team around you, and they were like, what is like going on? And you're there talking negative, and you're like, guys, no, like we got this. This is fine. And it's just
Yeah.
like those stories and those things
Yeah.
are what demonstrate that you really have become, just so much more confident, resilient. And um, I know you're just gonna crush it. So,
Yeah. Right on,
um,
man.
yeah. So any advice for somebody who's at that beginning stage? Like if you could almost go back and talk to yourself in those early stages. You mentioned the curiosity, you're struggling, doing all these different things. What advice would you give to your younger self or somebody who's in the beginning stages?
We did an exercise early on when I was even, debating hey, there's investment in kind of coaching and time, monetary value, and you just try and figure out, is it worth it? Am I going to get anything? And I think we did a little fear exercise. I think when you challenge me, and I did that process for deciding whether to go with coaching. And I remember thinking at the end of the day, what's the worst that can happen? If things this guy, first of all, I had good vibes, right? So there's just a good feeling. If nothing else, I feel like I'll get a friend out of this. And if nothing else, you have someone supporting you and in your corner. I think it also, I've done some, had a, through the company, had executive coaching. And I think that what I always want to try to do in any of the work I do with others, I love just good partnerships. I love building teams, and I think of this as a team, man. It's a
Yeah.
partnership. I'm cheering you on, you cheering me on, and I think developing a relationship, and finding someone that is committed to you is really helpful. I think that takes time. I think when
Yeah.
I think about my executive coaching, yeah, there's things that you can kind of learn, and on a surface level, high level. But what I want someone to do is you got to get to know your players. And I think that
Hmm.
I told you this the other week, is that um, you know, don't seek cheerleaders, don't seek critics, seek coaches. And I think cheerleaders just tell you all the good things, and don't tell you anything bad. Critics are the people that are just putting you down. And finding a coach is to find the right people to say, hey, support you, kick you in the butt if you need it, but also just in your corner, and is able to kind of adjust to who you are as an individual. And I think that takes time, and you got to build that relationship over time. And like I said, I think, typically you want to go into anything with an outcome. Like, I want to begin with the end in mind. What is the
Yeah.
outcome I want to receive from coaching? And I think maybe take from my experience is that don't just be open, go into it with a little, beginner's mind and curiosity, and be open to kind of what you may get into. And I think for me, like what I found out that was most needed was something that I didn't feel like I needed, which was just like, I see someone in my corner, like someone to support me.
Encouragement.
Of
Yeah.
course, of course, there's like, everything else. There's a lot of things, but I think that is the most important thing that I needed in my journey at the time, and gonna continue to make sure that I, am intentional about having, people in my corner and a support system. So,
Mm,
um, all those things
that's
are
perfect.
what I would probably recommend to others looking for it.
Yeah, just going with the beginner's mind and that curiosity and seeing like what's possible, what's the worst that could happen. And
Yeah.
I love that. So as we're just wrapping up, man, I just wanted to say thank you. And I'm just so grateful for you for allowing me to be part of your journey. And the thing that's cool about like our dynamic is like you're only an hour and a half away from me. So we've done a couple of meetups, we've done trail
Yeah.
runs, we've done sauna, supported each other at races and stuff. And I'm just grateful for you as a person, and just can't wait to continue to work together and be a part of
Yeah.
this partnership and just continue to level up. So just want to say
Do
thank you.
Yeah, do right back at you. So like, I need encouragement. I need positive affirmation. I'm gonna give it back to you, man. I just want to express gratitude, man. You've been a huge part of my success in a short amount of time. And um, I'm just thankful and grateful for our work together, and look forward to continuing and having, at the end of the day, just a really good friend, and someone that is in my corner, but also I want to be there for you, and help you in wherever I can.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for sharing all of this. This was like so helpful just for me to just hear kind of like the feedback and what has helped you. And so for anybody that's listening to this or watching this, if you resonated with this, if you have that curiosity, go ahead and click the link down below, book a call with me, send me a DM on Instagram. Let's have a chat. And Michael, appreciate you. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah. Thanks, brother.